So, how do we find our conscience? It's simple, really. We do it by listening. And how do we listen? By integrating what we know with what we do, by actively engaging our everyday lives. We can't treat knowledge and action as separate entities. They're not two separate things, they're one and the same. We shouldn't think that we need to have all the knowledge before we take action. That's like following Zhu Xi's Neo-Confucianism, where we believe we need to fully grasp the principles of the universe before we can start acting on them. That's not the way to go. Now, let's look at what Wang Yangming had to say. He said, "Knowledge is the beginning of action, and action is the fulfillment of knowledge." It's through taking action that we truly understand and complete our knowledge. Think about the truth behind this statement. It's not about having all the knowledge before we start doing something. Knowledge is what gets us started. Think about it. You see, having an understanding of principles in our minds, that's what we call knowledge. But knowledge alone doesn't lead to action. It's like, you know something, but it doesn't necessarily make you do something about it. That's why we say, knowledge is the beginning of action. But what does that knowledge actually mean? It's about grasping the truth. And when we come across a truth that resonates with our hearts, that's when we start feeling a strong desire for it. You know, like when you see a breathtaking view and you just can't help but want to be a part of it. It's because your heart is yearning for it. So, the aspiration of the heart drives us to take action. When we know something is good, our hearts naturally gravitate towards it. And when we know something is bad, we instinctively steer clear of it. That's what it means when we say knowledge is the starting point for action. That it's this inner longing of the heart that propels us forward. Take the Chinese, for example. There was a time when we thought Western civilization had all the answers, the ultimate truth. So, during the early days of modern Chinese history, many smart folks went searching for truth in the West, you know? Back then, what did the West symbolize for us? It was like a beacon calling out to our hearts. But now we've come to realize that it can't solve all of China's problems. Western civilization isn't seen as the ultimate truth anymore, nor is it the holy grail for folks in the East or the Arab world. Things have changed, man. Heck, even the Arab world is dealing with terrorism these days. So, what can we learn from this? Well, anything we consider true is always something we admire and aspire to, right? When our hearts are captivated by it, that's when we start taking action. So, why is action the missing piece of the knowledge puzzle? Here's the deal. When you really want something and your heart is set on it, you want to be a part of it, right? You want to dive right in and make it a part of who you are. But how do you make that happen? Well, you gotta take action, my friend. How else are you gonna make it a part of you if you don't do something about it? Because we have this burning desire, we get up and get moving. Taking action is how we blend ourselves with what we long for. It gives our lives purpose and excitement, allowing us to live in the realm of truth. That's why action completes knowledge. It's not just about theory, my friend. The school of the heart isn't some abstract concept. Wang Yangming's school of the heart is all about putting things into action. When you learn, you gotta put it into practice, and that's what real learning is all about. In The Analects, the first line says, "Isn't it awesome to learn and keep practicing what you've learned?" Now, let's dig into the rendering of the Chinese character for practice, she. It's pretty cool, right? How do you write it in traditional Chinese characters? So, what's the deal with it? Think about feathers, man. They're like the wings of a bird. Look at a bird, it flies multiple times a day, and the wings beat countless times. So, when we talk about learning to become wise, what does that mean? It means constant practice, flying like a bird day in and day out. If you learn but don't put it into action, that ain't real learning, my friend. Confucius didn't go into all the nitty-gritty of this idea, he just mentioned it briefly. Later on, Confucian scholars expanded on it, and Wang Yangming called it the fusion of knowledge and action. Learning here isn't just about gaining scientific knowledge or doing exercises for a course. It's about learning how to be a better person, making our lives meaningful and exciting, and living in the realm of truth. And what do we call that? It's learning and constantly applying what we've learned, it's integrating knowledge and action. School of the Heart is way more than just theory, man. It's not some abstract idea. Sure, scholars can study it, but Wang Yangming's School of the Heart is all about living it out. If you haven't taken action yet, what can you be sure of? You haven't really grasped the knowledge. That's what it's all about, you know? So, listening to your inner conscience is a way of living, not just some mental exercise. Because if it's all in your head and you don't put it into action, it ain't genuine knowledge, according to Wang Yangming. If you can't practice it, it means you haven't really understood it yet. Once you truly know, you gotta take action because your heart longs for it. He says that without action, it's not real knowledge. Knowing without truly knowing, that's what practice is all about. When we dive into Wang Yangming's Instructions for Practical Living, we take it step by step. It's like his collection of quotes, you get me? It's written like recorded conversations, inspired by Zen Buddhism. Zen Buddhism left behind tons of writings in this dialogue-style format. The Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch is one example, and then we got Wang Yangming's Instructions for Practical Living. These quotes are his chats with his students, and each one teaches us how to put it into action. So, for us regular folks who ain't scholars, we shouldn't overanalyze or treat Wang Yangming's School of the Heart like some highbrow philosophy, you know? It's all about getting hands-on and doing it. Let me give you an example, like learning calligraphy. It's all about practicing your writing with a brush. So, how do you go about practicing brush calligraphy? Well, according to Wang Yangming's School of the Heart, it's not about making the characters look perfect, it's about approaching it with respect and reverence. When you're practicing calligraphy, the goal isn't to create beautiful characters, it's about cultivating a sense of respect for the craft. But nowadays, when people start learning calligraphy, they immediately want to become a master and have everyone admire their writing. That's when they start chasing after results, which is a mistake. What should you really focus on? It's about nurturing the foundation of your practice, not getting caught up in the end result. Let me put it in Wang Yangming's words using an analogy. Imagine you're planting a tree. What's on your mind? You're probably envisioning it blooming with gorgeous flowers, having lush leaves, and strong branches, right? You plant the tree with those goals in mind. But here's the thing, whether it's the flowers, leaves, or branches, they'll naturally come when the roots are deeply grounded, not because you're desperately seeking them. If you approach calligraphy without obsessing over creating aesthetically pleasing characters, that's the first step. And if you're running a business, what shouldn't you focus on? Becoming one of the top 500 companies, for example. Approaching these pursuits with sincerity and respect is what it means to put in effort. Starting from the foundation is like nurturing the roots. Once the roots are well nurtured and firmly established, what is there to fear? Winter will inevitably come, and the tree's flowers and leaves will wither. Even if the branches look bare and lifeless, that's okay because when spring arrives, what happens? The tree bursts back to life with abundant flowers and leaves. But what if the roots aren't deeply grounded? The tree will freeze to death. That's the idea. To give you an example, Wang Yangming's School of the Heart can be applied to our everyday lives. It's all about practical application, where knowledge and action go hand in hand. So, how do we achieve this unity of knowledge and action? It's simple. In everything we do, we should listen, but what should we listen to? Our conscience. Conscience is the core of our existence because it connects us with the universe's guiding principles. Instead of just studying endless theories and memorizing 100 of Wang Yangming's life lessons, we should understand that these principles naturally apply to every aspect of our lives. Now, let's talk about Wang Yangming's life. He achieved 3 remarkable things: making contribution to country, practicing good values, and spreading his teachings. Spreading his teachings refers to his philosophy, right? Practicing good values refers to how he lived his life, setting a great example for others. And making contribution? Well, even though he was a scholar, he led troops into battle multiple times, putting down rebellions. He had played a pivotal role in suppressing the Prince of Ning rebellion. Back then, there was this powerful prince Zhu Chenhao who rebelled. Zhu Chenhao was formidable, but when Wang Yangming stepped in, he swiftly defeated him in no time. If Wang Yangming's school of heart didn't have practical examples to back it up, we might consider it mere empty talk or theory. In Confucianism, the highest achievement in the life of a person is making contribution, practicing good values, and spreading his teachings. Wang Yangming had it all. In modern Chinese history, big shots like Sun Guofan, Li Hongzhang, and Chiang Kai-shek were all die-hard followers of Wang Yangming. Mao Zedong never openly admitted it because he was against Confucian teachings, right? But deep down, his ideals were heavily influenced by Wang Yangming. That's how powerful Wang Yangming's impact was, not to mention his influence on Japan, as we had talked about earlier. This is his theory of the unity of knowledge and action. Don't engage in empty discussions by flipping through books and debating back and forth. Truth is not found in verbal debates. You find truth through listening to your heart as you engage in real-life experiences. If we're gonna explain the Analects using Wang Yangming's teachings, what should we remember? The 3 fundamental principles right there in the first section. The way of the great learning is all about unwrapping your virtues, being close to the people, and not stopping until you have achieved the ultimate good. When you aim for the ultimate good, you've got a life goal. Knowing what you want to achieve is what gives you a clear sense of direction. It's only with a strong goal in mind that you can stay focused and avoid distractions. When your mind is at peace and you're not driven by desires, you can find contentment and adapt to any situation. Once you feel content, you can think carefully and make wise decisions. By considering things wisely, you can achieve the desired outcome, knowing when to push forward or step back. These are called determination, calmness, peace, and thoughtfulness. Where does this determination, calmness, peace, and thoughtfulness come from? It comes from having a clear goal. Understanding your goals, you set your direction, and that's when you find your path. Nowadays, many young people struggle to find their direction. Once you're determined, you can stay calm no matter how chaotic things are around you. Being calm gives you confidence and self-assurance. With that inner peace, you can carefully consider things, which is called thoughtfulness. And with thoughtfulness, what can you achieve? Success. Read The Great Learning. It is clearly written in the first paragraph. The way of the great learning is to give you a clear goal, unwrap your virtues, be close to the people, and only stopping at the ultimate goodness. Understanding your goals brings determination, calmness, peace, and thoughtfulness, leading to success. Alright, because of time constraints, that's all for now. Thanks, everyone.